Welcome back to Behind Her Coffee Stories of Motherhood. I'm your host, the unknown mom. I'm just a regular mom with a cup of coffee and a story to tell. So, this is where we are going to be talking about the parts of motherhood that don't always make it to Instagram, the identity shifts, the quiet sacrifices, the decisions that look confusing to everyone on the outside, but make perfect sense in your heart. If these stories resonate with you, make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss what's next. And today's story is called The Choice No One Ever Saw Coming. But before we get into that story, here's what we're getting into today: a toddler phrase that puzzles me, a bathtub incident I'd like to forget, a teacher tip you can try this week, and then our story. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, take a deep breath, and let's begin. All right, it's time for funny things my toddler has said to me this week.
Thomas time.
So, my youngest is about 1.5, and they are saying phrases that don't really make sense. And my youngest, my 1.5-year-old, her favorite phrase is, I do it. And at first, it was, she was doing stuff and she would say, I do it. But then I started noticing I would say, oh, where's the ball? And she would say, I do it. And I thought she was saying, I threw it. But no, that's her way of saying, I don't know. Where's daddy? I do it. Where's your shoe? I do it. Where's your doll? I do it. And it's the cutest thing, but it's the funniest thing because sometimes I forget that the I do it means I don't know. And I'm trying to process what's going on and what she's trying to say. And then I realize, oh, yeah, that's right. She's saying, I don't know in her own way. I swear sometimes these kids have us questioning if we understand things when in reality they have made up their own language. And it's so cute. And I know later on, I hope one day when she asks me a question when she's older, I'm just going to say, I do it, when I really meant, you know, I don't know, which I don't know things a lot of the time because, that's just me, a human, a normal person. And now, the moment that keeps me humble.
Huh? Miss Mom.
This week, I fell into the bathtub. Yes, you heard that correctly. I was fully clothed while bathing my kids. Normal people put their knees on the floor while they bathe their kids. Me, I didn't. I put my knee on the side of the bathtub. And again, normal people would put soap next to them. I put it on the other side of the bathtub, a combination meant for me to slip. And my kids are bathing. They're having the time of their lives. And I go to reach for the soap, and in I go. Water everywhere. And all I could do was just, close my eyes and go, you know what? Yep, that matches the vibe of today. I was literally just texting my best friend and telling her that I saw a couple that just looked so put together. Such, adultier adults. Me, on the other hand, I was out and about, hat because I didn't want to do my hair, leggings because those are the only things that are comfortable and I can move around in, a kid on each arm, bags in my hand, trying to juggle bags, Valentine's Day gifts, all of this stuff. And yeah, I saw this couple and I thought, wow, that those are adults. Those are people put together and I am a hot mess. And then I proceed to fall in the bathtub that same very day. Ah, so I know people say that being a stay-at-home mom is so glamorous. And it is for the most part, but that glamour also includes being fully clothed in water, just contemplating life. Motherhood. Am I right? All right. So before we go into the story, you know me, I was a teacher. So I need to give you my teacher tip for the week. And that is take out aluminum foil and dry erase markers and let them have at it. So this came about because I was in the kitchen with my kids. I had nothing to entertain them, but I still had to make dinner. And you don't want kids pulling at you when you're trying to turn on the stove, deal with the stove, all of that. So I decided, you know what, let me take out this aluminum foil. I lined my island with it, put them right next to it, gave them a marker, and said, have at it. Mind you, I'm talking about a dry erase marker. And they had so much fun that I was able to make dinner in peace. So, if you're willing to try it, go ahead and do it. But I highly recommend. You will be thanking me. All right. Now that we've laughed a little, you've gotten to know me a little with, the hot mess that it is and the true, real noise in the background from my kids. It is time for me now to tell you the story that I've been wanting to share. I remember the moment I started telling people I was going to stay home. The reactions were, oh my goodness, almost louder than the decision itself. I would hear, you have a master's degree. You've been in your career for 8 years. Love what you do. You're independent. You work so hard. And I would also hear, how could you just give that up? And that's when I realized something. I wasn't giving up anything, I was choosing something. The world tells us to value our mothers, but it doesn't value motherhood. We celebrate moms publicly. We post photos. We write tributes. We call them superheroes. But privately and sometimes publicly, we question them. We tell people to support mothers, but we do not support all types of motherhood. We praise the mom who goes to work, comes home, cooks dinner, helps with homework, and does it all. And she does deserve that praise. I'm going to tell you, she does. But I have rarely heard someone praise the mom who stays home and does it all. It's almost as if you have to leave the house to be applauded. We don't need the applause. The acknowledgement would help, as if it being physically present isn't enough. And I need to say this very clearly. All right. There are women who work, who have to work. There are women who can't afford to stay home. There are women who want to work. And there are women who thrive in their careers. And sometimes that separation can make them even better mothers. I know sometimes a drive away from my kids, I come back even more compassionate, even more patient than when I was with them 24/7. I was raised by a working mother. I love her to pieces, and she still works. And I hold working mothers in a very high regard. This is not a working mom versus stay at home mom episode. It's not. This is about the tension I felt because I was molded by society to believe that if you're not a working mom, what kind of role model are you? Especially if you have daughters. Why wouldn't you show them that you can do it all? The narrative lived in me for years. 16-year-old me had a plan, dual income, career woman, cleaning service, and my husband better know how to cook because I wasn't going to. I was not going to play into some submissive narrative. I thought stay-at-home moms were naive. maybe even lazy, definitely unambitious. That wasn't going to be me. No, it wasn't. But in college, I took a child development course and I learned that the first 5 years of a child's life are crucial. And something shifted in me. Not forever, but those early years, I wanted to be home. And that shocked me a little bit. But I kept thinking, 5 years? What's 5 years? Before my husband and I got married, I told him, I want to stay home with our kids for the first 5 years. And he said, all right, okay. And we planned. We condensed our lifestyle to fit into one income. That's not naive. That's strategic. That's partnership. But there was another moment I haven't talked about. The day I walked into my principal's office. Yes, I was a teacher, my boss. And I told her I wouldn't be returning the following school year. And guess what? She didn't judge me. She didn't question me. She said, there will be a job here if and when you return. And I started to tear up from relief because I thought maybe she would think I was making a mistake. She didn't. And if you're listening, thank you. But unfortunately, not everyone reacted that way. Most people asked why. What about your future? Are you sure? And that's when the doubt set in and the panic lingered. It followed me home. It showed up in the middle of the night. I kept thinking, am I making a mistake? Is this brave, reckless? And that doubt stayed in me because that's what I used to think until my daughter was born. And when they handed her to me, you know, Sunday morning, C-section in this cold, sterile room, terrified on that table, just looking at this sheet in front of me. And it was around the pandemic. So, of course, mask and all. And then everything quieted. My entire world fit into that tiny blanket. And guess what? I didn't think about my job once, not once. All I thought was I would do anything for her. And in that moment, the panic softened, not because it was easy, but because it was clear. It's been a few years now, and guess what's been coming? Your kid is daycare age. Go put them in daycare, and why don't you go back to work? I bet you'll feel good. Why don't you put your degree to work? And I just smile because intelligence is not wasted if it's not monetized. Ambition does not disappear because you choose your family. Motherhood is leadership. Motherhood is discipline. Motherhood is 24/7. Guess what? My job moved on. I got replaced. But in this house, in my home, in my kids' hearts, in my kids' lives, I'm irreplaceable. Maybe my career was never the goal. Maybe my family was. And before I close this episode, I want to say something directly to all the educated stay at home moms, the ones with degrees framed somewhere in their house, the ones who once had titles on their doors, the ones who used to answer emails before 7 a.m., the ones who still hesitate when someone asks, Hey, what do you do? I see you. Your education was not wasted. It didn't disappear. It didn't expire. It didn't shrink when you chose to be home with your family. You brought it with you. You use it every day in the way you problem solve, in the way you research, in the way you advocate for your children, in the way you structure your home, in the way you think long term. You are not just a stay at home mom. You are not small. You are not less ambitious. You simply redirected your ambition towards something the world doesn't always know how to measure. And maybe one day you'll return to the workforce. I'm still questioning it. And maybe you won't. But either way, your worth was never tied to that paycheck. Your degree did not go to waste. It prepared you for the most complex, demanding, humbling role you will ever hold. So, if no one has told you lately, you are not behind. You are not settling. You are building something that lasts. And that matters. Well, there it is. Thank you for listening to Behind Her Coffee Stories of Motherhood, where the stories are honest, the coffee is, oh, it's necessary, and success isn't one size fits all. And let's add a little cherry on top for real life noise in the background. Can't wait to see you guys next week. A Coffee with Carmen production.